Ik doe het gewoon.
Je bent live.
Met live.
Het is een beetje donker.
Het is wel een beetje donker. Oh, dit is rood. Ja. Dat is beter.
Misschien moet de lichtjes ook wel aanzetten.
Stream bijna. Hallo. Kunnen we zien of iemand is? 4 people. I think.
Yeah, 4 people are with us.
Hallo, hallo.
We prepare for load shedding.
Okay, so if there's anybody, for us this is the first time too. So if you have a question for us, feel free to ask it in the chat. Let's see how it goes.
We just wait.
We just wait, yeah. Hi from Germany. Well, hello from Cape Town.
Hello from Cape Town.
How is it in Germany?
We have some family and friends already in the chat.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's summer.
Yeah,
well,
here it's winter.
Here not.
We're wearing like a vest because it's quite cold during the day and the night as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's 5 degrees during the night.
From Argentina.
Italy.
Wow.
It's also quite warm, I think.
Yeah.
Italy.
I think Eros is from inviting us over to meet other EV riders.
When we are back
when
in Europe.
When we are back in Italy.
When we're back in Europe.
Yeah. Yeah, so well, hello, good evening. We hope all is well for you. And we are now in an apartment in Cape Town to relax a little bit and prepare for our way back home. And so we have some time. So we thought whoever would like to ask us anything, let's open the door for whoever likes to.
So the first question is about our solar charging system. So, well, we are quite happy in some way with our solar system because we charge 54% of the energy we used in Africa so far. We charge with our own solar panels, which is quite nice. The downside of our solar charging system is still that we have to set everything manual. So we have to set the current manual, which means that we have to give a lot of input to the laptop, and the laptop gives input to the charger. And therefore, it's quite a lot of work still to charge with our own solar panels. We hope we will get a software update, but still it seems quite difficult to manage this. But we have good hope that it will be fixed anytime soon.
Yeah, and still we are quite surprised all is going well because we made up the idea to do this at home. And we tested it, I think, once or twice in the Netherlands, but that was all. And then it wasn't working perfectly yet. So the fact that we could drive solely on solar for more than 5,000 kilometers in a row, that was quite impressive. So we are really happy with the system. It's very reliable as well. But for the way back home, we decided to let go of the goal to do at least half of our kilometers on solar. Also because on our way back home, it will be interesting to experiment with other things like the charging network here in South Africa, as well as in Kenya. So we will try
in
other
South
things
Africa,
as well.
there's quite a well-developed fast charging network. So. We found a new partner in South Africa, and they gave us a charging card, so we can use all the fast chargers in South Africa on in their network, and that's what we're gonna use the coming weeks.
Yeah, so that we can compare also how it is to charge here in a charging network compared to our home in Europe. That we will share all about that as well.
The question from Electros Pas Vogel. Can you maybe rephrase, because I'm not sure if I understand the question right.
The way back home, we got more questions asked, like how will we go back home? We don't know yet exactly. So the route is not final. We will see as we go. But we leave Cape Town beginning next week. And then our first aim is for Joburg, as we have some companies there as well to visit. And on our way there, we will also visit quite some sustainable initiatives already. As there's also another solar car here in Africa.
What we've heard.
So we're gonna check it out because we're really curious.
Yeah.
I see another question.
And regarding our charging system, it's indeed the DC-DC converter. The charger system we have is it's something you cannot buy anywhere in the world. So therefore, it's really new, and that it doesn't work as we hoped. That's something maybe also because we are still in a development phase and experimenting with it.
Well, it is reliable.
It is reliable.
It's not automatic.
Sure. Yeah, but we have quite some ideas how it can be. How it can be more automatic. But then we need some little bit more different equipment. So, and our charging unit doesn't have this kind of equipment.
No. Yeah, so we don't really feel like true pioneers. As for us, we have been traveling like this now for 8 months. So for us, it feels really normal. But it's funny that now that we are in Cape Town, I think this is the first country where we get a lot of attention, as people are quite surprised how we arrived here and they just want to hear our stories. So we get a lot of requests to share. So now we kind of feel a little bit like pioneers again, but for us, it became quite normal, actually.
Yeah. And a question about load shedding. It's quite interesting. I think the power will go off in like 3 minutes. So not sure if it will be like properly visible, but you can see when the power goes off. So starting from 8 o'clock, and normally in Cape Town, it's like, but it's like 10 minutes late of what they said it will be. And then the power will be off from 8 up to 10:30.
But it's never exact. So we try to film, like we have a view from our apartment on the city, and we thought, okay, let's film that everything shuts off because it looks quite unique. But it never shuts off exactly when you expect it to.
No, I think it's 10:10. But you can see that there's quite a lot of time that the power is on. So you can just plan during the day, and here you can just in between you can just charge the car. So there are quite some chargers in Cape Town which you can use to charge a car.
Yeah, but so we have now we have one light here. So we prepared it so that when it goes dark, you can still see us. But the other lights will all shut off, so that will be interesting. It's interesting that I saw a message from Easy Booster. He's close to the border from Nigeria to Cameroon. For us, this is like a very memorable spot of our expedition going down. So I'm very curious where you are and like where are you going? How is it going? Did you do that funny video with mechanic?
Yeah, no, I think yesterday we went to the garage, Volkswagen garage, because that's Skoda is also part of the Volkswagen family, and it all went so easy and well that in a few hours we already were done. So we didn't have time to make a proper video or pictures. We will visit the Volkswagen garage in Johannesburg in like 2 or 3 weeks time from now. And then we will have another check. So our battery will be checked. And well, the first things we saw is that we did another battery check with another partner of ours, Avilo. And our battery is still fine, like really good. And
everything is still quite fine.
Everything is still quite.
I think the mechanic was a bit bored because he got all day to help us, and there was not that much to do. So
yeah.
We got also a question. Tesla in Germany built a solar charging trailer. with foldable panels. Do you know this?
Yeah,
trailer?
I know this.
If it would be better. Well, we are quite happy. Our first thought was to make a trailer as well to store the solar panels. But then again, if you have a trailer, it means also quite some extra resistance for the car. So you need a lot more energy again as well to drive. So we are really happy that it just fitted in our car. But maybe a package like this could be interesting for companies or military or that kind of direction, so more business-wise. As for us, we are just travelers and pioneers, as said before. So it's different, I think. But for us, we wouldn't really prefer a trailer, I think.
Yeah, for us this is the most convenient. So the 60 square meters of solar panels we have in the back of the car, we can put it out in 15 minutes, 5 minutes, and we can clean it up in 5 minutes again. So it's, I think in the future, if you can put solar cells in like a carpet, and you have like a carpet, you bring it out of the car and you roll it out, and in like 5 minutes everything is ready, then it will be way more convenient. But interesting thing is that what we have now, we have, like, for example, the solar panels we have in the car, they are not made for where we use them for. So you see some wear and tear on the edges of the solar panels, but still they are really fine. So I think like we lose like 2 or 3%.
The power is off.
Now the power is off, so it's completely dark outside, and because we have some lights connected to the laptop, that we are still visible. But now the load shedding is started.
Yeah, and we got a question why it is that the power is shut off in Africa. We are now in Cape Town. Here it's not the worst. In some areas it can be even worse. And it's mainly because the maintenance of the power system hasn't been as it should be, as well as they had an under expectance of the need for electricity. So there's much more electricity needed than there is required. So when there is a season when more and more people ask more electricity, they shut off the electricity per region for like 1 or 2 hours, or sometimes more if it's worse.
Yeah.
And this actually started already in 2018, but then it was not that much. And now in the past years, it's getting more as, it's still not fixed.
It's also based on maintenance of different, power, how to call it, like the power factories.
Yeah, the power stations.
The power stations, and they are, so to say, a little bit behind in maintenance, and therefore this happens. So it's very sad for South Africa, and they have it in different levels. So level 1 up to level 8. And the maximum we had the past days was level 6, which means that you don't have power for almost 6 to 8 hours a day. And if it goes even more higher, then it could be that the power goes really off for a long time, because then every different stations need to be started up again, and there could be no power for more than a week.
But it hasn't happened yet.
It hasn't happened yet.
But it's not getting better. So it could happen that it's even getting worse still.
Yeah.
So we have met up with some locals who share the story in more detail, and it could even get worse. It's not yet getting better here. So that's quite sad, actually, that then electricity really is a luxury. So it's hard to imagine, but like waking up and just wanting to make a coffee is then not an option. That's something really simple, but it really takes up the basics in life.
There's a question about what we are doing with the expedition car after the expedition. We don't know yet. So the first...
any ideas are welcome.
Yeah, any ideas are welcome. But the first months, we definitely will keep the car and to speak to people and show the car and inspire them more than because we can show the car and show the solar panels. But on the long term, we are not sure yet what we are doing with it.
I also see some questions about our way up, as we are gonna drive up as well, because for us it's an aim to travel sustainable. So we wanna try not to fly. So then you drive up. And we will drive up via the East Coast. So we will leave Cape Town next Tuesday and then go in the direction of Johannesburg. And we are very curious for Lesotho as well. It's a small country surrounded by South Africa, so quite
almost
funny.
The highest country in the world.
And there is even snow there, so we are quite.
But we are in winter time here.
Yeah, I know. So it will be really. Yeah, okay, yeah. But now there is snow there, so that's quite funny. And from there, the goal is to go via Mozambique and then Tanzania and Kenya. And from there, we don't really know yet because Ethiopia is quite difficult to get into with a car from another country. So we do want to try to enter, but we still have to fix it. And as you might know, Sudan is also quite challenging at the moment, and it's the question if you want to cross. So we are looking into options to ship the car and then find a solution that we don't have to fly. So we have all options open up until now, and just see as we go what options show itself. And so that's also part of the adventure. As we have learned anything, it's to become flexible. So
we plan day by day. So that's we have some appointments in Johannesburg in a few weeks, but we will see. So it's also a good question if people invest more or interested more in sustainability. Now there are more power outages. And we spoke to quite some different people in Cape Town so far, and they all see that there is more and more people invest in sustainability, not because, probably also because they like to, but also because they have to. So more and more people get solar panels and a home battery, a household battery, especially during the power outages. That you really can see, if we look to the window, you can see which home has a generator or has a battery at home, because the homes that don't have it, it's completely dark. So it's quite interesting to see. So there is way more investment now in sustainability in solar panels, but as well that there is a very long waiting list for this, because they cannot handle all the requests so far.
And same for driving electric. The charging network here is growing, but then again, most electric cars are imported, and the importing costs are quite high. So therefore, an electric car is only approachable for people that are in the higher standards, to say so.
Yeah, so a little bit to add on that is that the import tax, as you have to pay in South Africa, is based on the value of the car and not so much on the sustainability side of the car. So if you, electric cars are cost more, so you have to invest more in an electric car. But still you have to pay as well a lot more, because it's a very expensive car.
I think Philip got his son into bed, so that's good. He's asking where we felt most dangerous on the roof. I think he means on the roof. So I think he meant in the rooftop tent. But
or
if
on the
it's
road.
On the road, well, to tell the truth, we haven't really felt unsafe on the road. Okay, I think for us it was mostly in Nigeria. Further, we haven't really felt unsafe. And in Nigeria, it was mostly because of stories we heard, and because we knew we were there in an election period and when there was not that much cash. So then that can impact that people might behave unexpectedly. So we were always kind of on the watch, prepared for everything. In the end, we haven't really felt unsafe, but we were just prepared to be, kind of.
But what we also felt about Nigeria is that, well, in whole Africa, we didn't feel unsafe so far. But in Nigeria, we think that we were the closest to danger. So that if you were 5 minutes before or 5 minutes after at a certain place, then it could be worse. And that's something we felt in Nigeria. But on the other hand, all the stories we hear from other overlanders, they didn't have any issues in Nigeria. No. It's just that you have a lot of checkpoints, a lot of police stops, and you have to show some papers, and they ask some questions. But overall, the people were very friendly.
Yeah.
So it's more that you hear that Nigeria is unsafe, and therefore you are very prepared for, and maybe it's a good thing. But I also think that a lot of places in Africa are less unsafe than people think, because you hear something on the news, and
yeah, we were really surprised how people just want to help. So I think the locals are mostly worried for you when you wild camp somewhere, which we did quite a lot. So then they are worried that there might happen something to you, and they just don't want that to happen. But then again, you don't hear any stories of it happening from other travelers. So it's a lot better than that. The power outages, that's not only limited to Cape Town, it's actually in the entire of South Africa. So Cape Town is actually not the worst. So we are very curious how it will be going up via the east. As we go up via the east, that was another question. No, it is not, but it is limited to South Africa.
It's interesting to know that Namibia is like, I think for 80 or 90%, they are
supplied.
The energy is supplied by South Africa, and Namibia is not affected by load shedding. Not yet.
Could happen as well.
And it's an interesting topic, maybe not for now, but it could also be that it's because of politics.
We get the question: how many liters of fuel of diesel would we have used if we would have driven on fuel? I think it's calculated on our website. So on our dashboard, you can see it.
Can have a look.
I don't know it now out of the top of my mind, but what we do hear is from other overlanders that they are per month an estimate of €1,000 they lose on the value of fuel. Of course, the price for fuel is quite different per country. For example, in Angola, it was really cheap.
But the energy price was also very cheap.
Yes, that's true.
So it's always in balance with each other.
Yeah. You can check it on the website. I don't know now, but it saves us quite some money. Sometimes we do pay for electricity. It's kind of depending on where we charge, and if it makes people feel more comfortable that we do, then we never hesitate to do so.
Yeah, so
because it's just something new here.
Yeah, it's more in the most places where we charge on the grid, then it's just people say it's fine and you can charge, and it's you don't have to pay anything. And if people are saying that we have to pay for it, then we always say in the end, okay, what do you think it will cost? And then they say something and we just pay it.
Yeah.
And most of the time we pay way too much, but we don't argue with people, because we think that if it's something that they feel, we don't want to leave any bad feeling about electric driving. And yes, we sometimes pay too much, but that's also something part of our expedition. Because
I think the most we paid was at a fuel station in Morocco.
Yeah.
Because they just had the idea that the value of charging a whole car would be kind of the same as fueling up a car. So then, it was, I think, €35 or something for half a battery.
It's way too expensive, because we always look up what the prices is. The prices for a kilowatt hour in every country, and we paid like, I think, more than 10 times the value of electricity we paid for electricity.
Yeah.
But there was no other option at that place in Morocco, because it was there were quite some clouds at that moment. And there was a grid gap, and so we had to charge our car, and and we paid. So it was what it is. So
maybe as there's now not really a new question, I think if you have other ideas of what you would like to see more of us while doing this on the way back home, you can also share it. We are also curious for that.
Yeah, we definitely saw some other electric vehicles, so not so much cars. We didn't see a lot of electric cars in Morocco, yes. But we think we saw some electric cars in Cape Town, but it goes so fast because there's quite some traffic. But we have seen quite a lot of electric motorcycles in different places.
Especially in Benin.
Especially in
the
Benin.
city of Benin.
Yeah.
No, not the city, the country.
And it's interesting how they do it is that what we spoke to one of the owners, so most of the people, they rent the electric bike, and then overall the costs are way lower than if they would have like a fuel bike. So we didn't see a lot of electric cars, but we did see a lot of electric motorbikes.
Yeah, we had a meeting last Monday here with the embassy and the Ministry of Transport in Cape Town, and there they showed that I think in 2001 they sold 200 electric cars, and in 2002 they sold 500. So if you compare that, for example, to the Netherlands, where we are from, that's like really nothing. But that's also just because they are so expensive here as well. So yeah.
Hello.
Somebody says hello.
We will go to Johannesburg. We will be in Johannesburg beginning of August. We have some events there. And if you're interested to meet us, maybe just send us a message, and maybe we can send you the invite of the partners that will organize an event.
Yeah. We get a question how we navigate, and to tell the truth, we don't use Google, because for that you need internet, and mostly when we are driving we don't have internet, at least not very stable. So we use a lot of Maps.me. It's a map you can download and then use as well when you don't have internet. And we got a new app, Mappies.
Yeah.
And this is for us an extra advantage, as you can also download the altitude. So for us, it has a big impact if we have to climb a mountain, because then the battery will descend a lot quicker. But then again, if we drive down, it will regenerate as well. So in this app, we can see how much meters we will descend and increase, so we can have a better idea of what's going on. So these are two apps we use mostly for navigating.
And a question about the university we visit. So we visit a couple of universities now in Morocco and now in Cape Town, so not a lot. And both were quite interesting, that we got quite some interesting discussions or things, the questions we got. And the interesting thing is that we always see, and that's always with also based on all the people we met so far, and also in all West African countries, that everybody sees that this is the future. Even though that a lot of people see that the investment in electric driving and also in solar energy is quite high, they see that this is the future, and all the questions are related to this. So I think overall the comments are really positive, and the questions as well. Sometimes they, for example, we got a question: if we not is it not better to put like a big windmill, on the roof of our car, because then we can generate energy while we're driving. And of course, physics doesn't allow this. So of course we have more resistance, and the resistance. But it's interesting that people think about this kind of thing. So a lot of people were.
And it was here in Cape Town. We had a university about sustainability and techniques. So they were really passionate about what we were doing as well. So very curious as well. We got a question about bribing along the way, if we had to pay bribes and if we put money in the passport to cross borders or something. To tell the truth, we don't. We want to prevent bribing or make it less interesting for locals to try to bribe. We have had many people trying, that they ask for money, and it doesn't mean that they are unfriendly. They often ask it very friendly if you have money for them, or if you want to give money to the country, for example. But we never do this or prevent doing it, because if we do, then the next people that are on the road will get even more expectations. So we haven't really done this actually.
We get a question about the cost of our whole expedition. This is something quite difficult to say because we have quite some things with us that are not that we got sponsored. So, for example, the rooftop tent, the rooftop box, and also the solar system, like how we put them in the car. And that's all made for us by a company, and you cannot really give a value to this because it's just only in products. So in the end, it's quite expensive that you can say that we had to buy the car, and the car itself is quite expensive, and we had to buy quite a lot of stuff. So overall, our expedition was close to, I think, over 200,000 euros. Yeah, altogether.
We get a question from Vido if we take side roads. Yes, we do. For example, in Namibia, we went to the Sossusvlei. This is not the main route, as you can take only tarmac. And this was all unpaved. But we are critical if the roads are good enough. So we do it sometimes, and sometimes we choose not to. It just depends on the country and the options that are there.
About the languages, well, we speak English and Dutch, and Renske speaks a little bit of French. And it was quite difficult in Western African countries because most of the countries, they speak Portuguese or French, that was quite difficult to communicate. But overall, it's quite interesting that still we could explain to people what we are doing and why we're doing it and how we are doing it. So that was quite cool.
Sometimes just use your hand and
just use your hand.
Everybody
and it's interesting.
It.
We have like the side. I always forget the
where
name.
You put the fuel
you put normally the fuel in.
You
just open the lid, and you show them you cannot put fuel inside, and then you open the hood of the car, and they see there's no engine, and then people really like, okay, this is really an electric car.
How we decide which roads to take. I think for this, we never choose a route because we can solar charge there, because that was also a question you asked, as you cannot really see that up front. We sometimes use Google Maps with satellite view to see where there are open spaces. But then again, we also need an angle to the sun, and you never see on any navigation if there's an angle to the sun. So for finding a place to charge, we just only use our eyes. So just watching while driving, and choosing the roads, we just mostly listen to other travelers and their experiences on roads, and further the navigation actually.
So the question about our ENIAC, what we will do when we are back, we already answered this, but we're not sure yet. So maybe it goes to the museum. It also depends how, if people want to buy our expedition car. And regarding the most funny thing, for me, and I will ask Renske as well about it, but I think for me 2 times that we had it in quite a big city, that we drove behind somebody, and he or she was walking in front of our car, and we were quite close, but the person didn't hear us coming, and he or she turned around, and she was really like, oh, and there's a big car behind me. So that's quite interesting. She or he didn't hear us coming. That is quite funny to see, and as well that when we stop. Officially, our car has to make noise in Europe, but we switched it off, so we unplugged it. Don't tell anybody, and luckily it's not a law in South Africa that we have to make sound with our electric car. But when we are parked, and there are sometimes, especially in Namibia and South Africa, there are easily 20 people around our car when we walk out of the supermarket, and then we answer some questions, and we drive away, and then before we drive, we put it in drive, and then we start driving, and they are like, you don't hear anything, it's so silent. And then so that's quite funny to see.
What we miss most from home, Yeah, I answered it as well on the interview we uploaded, I think 2 days ago, that for me it's mostly the people at home. So not really my home itself, but mostly, yeah, just people that now we can call, but that's not the same as really seeing them live. So that's for me, I think, the case. Yeah, for you, I don't know if you have something else to add.
Yes, in sometimes the luxury. So especially in Western Africa, we like finding water was like a main priority of a day, and yeah, in the where we live in the Netherlands, there's always water. So that's quite interesting. And yeah, a question about if we make a logbook where we charge. The interesting thing is that we can search for a place to charge between, like, then we still have a range of roughly 300 kilometers till like 50 kilometers. So we have like a window of 250 kilometers where we can find a place to charge our car. And therefore, you can always find a place.
But we sometimes do log it because there's an app, iOverlander, and this is used by most people that travel from long distances through Africa or other continents as well, actually. And here you can share interesting wild camp spots or restaurants or tips for border crossings, or like so much to travel like we do. And we often share also where we charged with our solar panels, just because it mostly there are interesting locations to camp in the wild as well, or to use for a lunch spot or anything else. So we do log it, but it's not really. I think that not quite quickly somebody else will solar charge there as well. Of course, you never know, but yeah.
No, so the app is called iOverlander,
Yeah.
and it's just an iPhone Android app, and that's giving us a lot of information about bordering crossings and all kind of stuff.
Yeah, Starlink would have been a very interesting tool for us to use for internet, but unfortunately, Africa was a continent that used it just a little bit too late for our expedition. So a lot of African countries will start using Starlink, I think, this year or next year.
There are already some countries like Nigeria, Kenya, but overall the most African countries, it's not approved yet to use Starlink, and therefore we cannot use it.
But luckily we have a partner that's providing us a SIM card we can use in about 2/3 of the African countries. And we don't have internet then everywhere, but still it's quite good, and we don't need a new SIM card every time we cross the border. So we are still very happy with this.
Yeah, and I think the Cybertruck from Tesla would be capable of doing the roads we drove, maybe a little bit better than our expedition car.
I think so, yeah.
I think the biggest issue we have is that our ground clearance is quite low. So we are not 4x4. We have a rear-wheel drive electric car. And long story short, it's more that about our NGO is called 4x4electric, and then we had to choose a car. But the most of the weight of our car is on our rear wheels, and with our tires, we noticed that we have a lot of power in those tires. But if you have a proper 4x4 and as well with the Cybertruck, I think it will be fun to drive.
No, we don't have to make a lot of advertisement for our sponsors. As maybe you noticed, I don't have to mention a name or something. We do have sponsors because they just want to show that their expertise is usable for something extreme like we do. But it's not that we have to mention their name an X amount of times or something. It's mostly that they just want to help us and share with their customers that even they can help us. So it's more in that way.
For us, it was very important that we needed partners to make this possible. So in every video we upload, we mention, for example, our main partner, and that's because we cannot do it without partners. This is way too expensive to do it just for the two of us. But it was for us important that it will not be like a sponsor show during whole Africa. For us, it's purely on, can we drive an electric car all the way to South Africa and back? and not to promote this or that. And we have quite some discussions about, we get approached, not that a lot, but we get approached by partners that, potential partners. And we are always we have very long discussions about it if it fits our expedition.
Yeah.
So it's not that we are approached by like a candy factory, but if a candy factory would say, hey, we want to sponsor you and we want to give this money, then we would say no, because it doesn't fit our expedition. No. Our expedition is about electric driving and sustainability, and we don't want to do any greenwashing, and we don't want to,
and we want to be honest. So we don't want to share anything because they sold us money. We want to share something when we really are behind it. So that's quite important to us.
Which means that we are not fully 100% covered, but we think we will make it in the end with maybe some new partners.
But that's mainly because just the expedition is taking a bit longer than we had thought, which is not bad, because we just want to take our time to do it the right way and to give initiatives the time they earn, and because we want to have a good time ourselves as well.
We do tourist stuff.
Yes, we do. Yeah. We do sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of all, and so it doesn't matter if it's not all fixed.
But it's also interesting that, not sure if you know, yes or no, but we had a household battery in our car, and it fell apart because of a mistake we made. And arriving in Cape Town, we went to a company that maybe was able to fix it. And an engineer had to look at it, and he said that it's just financially total loss. It didn't make sense to fix it. And then he said, well, we also sell like the same kind of household battery, different brand. But long story short, in the end, the company decided to sponsor us the new household battery, while we didn't ask for it. But they just loved our expedition, and in return we gave them a presentation about our expedition, and we're gonna visit their office in Johannesburg.
And we went there today to get everything out of the car and to clean it all and to make it even better. And they just like it so much to hear more of what we're doing. So that's also like a win-win, I think. We get a question what we do while we are charging the car. While we are driving the car. Well, we chat a lot, and we are a lot of the time just daydreaming and watching outside, as there's a lot to see when you're driving through Africa. But something else we do is we use podcasts quite a lot. So for example, it's very Dutch, but the Grote Podcastlas is something we really like. They make a session about many countries, and it's very interesting and just enjoyable. But also sometimes just informative podcasts, and we listen sometimes to cabaret. I don't know the English word for that, do you? Like a person telling jokes on the podium.
Yeah.
So that's what we do. We listen to music.
A question about why we choose the Enyaq. In the beginning we thought not in the beginning. In the end, we thought we need to choose a car that's just an electric car, so people don't have a lot of a strong opinion about it. For us, it was about electric driving, and in the end, the decision was between the ID4 and the Enyaq, because they're both reliable brands. And the Enyaq we found a little bit more tough, good looking than the ID4. And what Wolpertinger 42 says about household battery, yes, for sure. This is, I think, by far the most dangerous thing what happened.
Oh my God, I think we were really lucky.
We connected like 30 solar panels to our household battery, while it can only hold 6 panels. And it was a split second, and in the end, everything went well, but it could cause a fire in our car. So we're really happy. And overall, we didn't had any issues before this, and it's just it was for us really like a wake up call that we still have like a lot of energy that we can get our solar panels. So yeah.
We get a question why we used a rear-wheel drive and not an all-wheel drive. We did it in the end because all-wheel drive means a more heavy car, and we are already really heavy. And it's mostly interesting with electric cars to go even faster, while for us, we don't go fast.
We drive very slow.
We are really slow, like an old lady
Yeah.
or man. No, for us it was not. It didn't have the value. We decided to change the tires to all-terrain, which cost us quite some range as well. But that was really valuable. But rear-wheel drive just was enough, I think.
And what Aaron Nepper also said, rear-wheel drive cars are more energy efficient, so we use less energy, and we are less heavy because we are already quite heavy. Today we because we were at the place to redo some stuff in the car, we got everything out of the car, and our rear was really high because it was really light. There was no luggage in the car. So we were I think 5 or 6 centimeters higher than
at least. I really think at least,
than now with all the stuff in our car.
So what do we cook, or what is our favorite food? For breakfast we actually always eat yogurt with some muesli, and for lunch we eat bread if there's fresh bread available, and if not, we mostly eat wraps. And for dinner, I think our favorite food is pasta pesto, just because it's easy and it's always delicious. But we do vary a lot, so we try to cook never the same, just to make it interesting. But we don't really have a very strict diet, so we eat less meat, but not no meat, and I think that's mostly it.
It's quite interesting that in some countries we buy a lot of vegetables and fruit next to the road, and then you have a place where you want to buy a pineapple, and then you buy a pineapple, and then you say, we normally don't negotiate about things buying next to the road, because we just want to give people some extra money. And you think, okay, I buy one, and then you get 5 or 6. So you have, instead of buying 1 pineapple, you get 6 pineapples. So then our whole car is full of pineapples because we are quite fully stocked. So and that happens a lot with some other fruits as well.
What have we learned from different cultures we visited? I think I underestimated the differences a little bit, but that is actually something good. For me, it was kind of eye-opening in some ways as well. In a lot of cultures, I think family has an even higher value, as well as helping each other. That's way more big than at least I'm used to. Not that I normally don't help people, but it's different. Everybody's offering it even though it's not asked.
We often charge on a soccer field or next to the road, and then we charge a whole day with our solar panels. And we got it, like, it was very often that people came to us and just offered a pineapple or offered something to eat. So we got a lot of things from people, and that's something that giving,
but also just the openness in being there and having all the time to be there for you, that just not in a hurry or in any way. I think in our home country we are just always living on time, and that's very different here. So I think we're still also kind of processing about the different cultures, what we've seen.
I think I always thought that culture is something quite complex, but it's for me now it's way more complex than I even thought.
We get the question, do we speak Dutch together or English? Well, I have to say we do speak Dutch together. We are typically Dutch.
Typically Dutch.
We don't mind to adjust if there's anybody in the room that's not Dutch. But we do
easily
prefer...
switch to English.
Yeah.
But so our average energy consumption now for the past 8 months is a little bit over 70 kilowatt hour per 100 kilometer. 17. 17. So it's not too bad. But it also includes 4 days of fast charging in Europe. So I think that our energy consumption in Africa is a little bit lower. We cannot calculate it like precisely, unfortunately. We have a partner that's collecting a lot of data, but we lost some data in different countries in Africa. But I think our overall average is quite low, but it's also because we drive slow. So we drive like 50 or 40 kilometers per hour. There were some parts in our expedition that we drove like 30 or 35 kilometers per hour because there was not a lot of electricity. And the slower we drive, the faster we arrive further.
Yeah.
So 70 kilowatt hours seems to be much, but just for your idea that we have a very heavy car, we have a rooftop tent and rooftop box, which is not very aerodynamic, and we have all-terrain tires. And because of the all-terrain tires, we lose at least 15% of range just because of the tires.
And I think because of the rooftop tent and the rooftop box, it's also in the direction of 10%.
10-15%. Maybe, so
So we are not aerodynamic in any way, but
it's for us is also giving an example that if you don't normally commuting from your home to your work and back, you don't do it with a rooftop box. But if you go on a holiday, for example, to winter sport or whatever, and you need some extra space, you take a rooftop box on your car to take some extra luggage with you, and then you accept that you are less aerodynamic, and you accept that you consume more or petrol or energy in an electric car. And for us, it's just we accept that we consume more energy because we know that we are not aerodynamic. That was never our goal. But we can always sleep anywhere because we have our rooftop tent with us.
Yeah, the freedom is of higher value than the efficiency.
Exactly. Yeah.
Did wild animals come to you while you were sleeping in a tent? We did hear a lot of animals while sleeping, and sometimes we didn't know what animal it was, but it didn't really come to the tent. So you just hear them outside, and it can sound quite interesting sometimes. Crickets are quite loud, to be honest. We haven't heard them since entering Namibia, but they can be quite loud, as well as dogs. But also in Namibia you have the hyenas, for example. But it's just really cool to hear that at night. It's not a bad thing in our opinion. But in the tent there's nothing. No, so that's nice.
The route we will take, we will drive back via, we will go to the east from now. We go to the most southern part of the continent of Africa, so Cape Agulhas. And from there on we go east and then up.
Yeah, via Lesotho as well, and then to Johannesburg.
And it's indeed, if you take a caravan with you, then the energy consumption is even higher.
But if that would be 25 kilowatt, that's not even that bad.
It's not too bad. But I think the roads, the roads we drove are not that good. So you have a lot of potholes, which means that you have to decelerate, accelerate, and constantly. And of course, you can regenerate the energy when you brake. But overall, like gravel is really killing. So in Namibia was for us the worst country to drive to, looking at energy consumption, because we have the corrugated roads, which mean like the washboard roads. So we have like very small bumps behind each other, like the same size as my hands. And then our rear brakes were constantly triggered So our energy consumption, even though we drove like 30, 40 kilometers per hour,
it was more than 30.
It was more than 30 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, and we drove like 30 or 40 kilometers per hour.
It was really bad, but then again, it was still really painful because everything in the car was like...
It shook, our whole car shook apart. So
they call it the African massage.
The African massage,
but then again, it's not a relaxing massage, because if it's your own car, it really hurts in your heart. It's not nice. No. No, we are happy we're done with that.
So for the souvenirs, well, we are quite, we don't buy a lot of souvenirs because we don't have a lot of space.
Souvenirs. We have quite some souvenirs, but then we don't buy them. So what we really like is to take souvenirs out of nature. So
don't let custom knows, because officially it's not allowed to take nature.
Our little secret, but like you come at quite different nature spots, which are sometimes really untouched, and for us that really feels quite nice. So sometimes we take a rock from there or some sand because we really like the color,
or really dried up stick wood.
Yeah, wood. Like in Namibia, it's really dry. So when a tree is dead, then the root, the tree doesn't rot. So it can become really old and just stay there the same as it was. And it has a really nice thing. We like it.
Yeah. So I think that were the questions for now. It was quite fun to do a first live Q&A session.
We had no idea what
to expect, but quite some people like to join it. So thank you very much for joining this Q&A and all the questions we got. Really appreciate it that you all follow us. It's for us, it's still some kind of dream that is becoming a reality. We sometimes don't believe that we are already in Cape Town, and on the back of our car is driving all electric from the Netherlands to South Africa and back. So we only have to do the last 2 words of what is on the back of our car. But it's it really is it's really cool to do this and to inspire all you what we are doing.
Definitely. Yeah. Wouldn't be as fun without you, that's for sure.
Thank you very much. Have a nice evening, and see you around or in our and you see us in a news video.
Yeah. Good evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.